You know, today I'm going to talk a little bit about goal setting, and I started to think about goal setting from the perspective of, what do I like about goal setting, what do I don't like about goal setting, and the bottom line about goal setting is most of us know what a goal is, right? We've all set them at some level. My goal is to do this or to do that. What kind of results are we having when we set a goal? We set a goal, put a date on it, what happens?
Forget about it.
Forget about it. Postpone it. What else? Sometimes they get done.
Listen to it.
Electronically listen to the beeping on our phones when we get the reminders, right? What else? Have you ever wondered why sometimes the goals that you set at one point in time when you sit down and you do your business planning that seems so, I really want that, don't seem to come to pass? Last year I set a goal to actually redo our website and actually launch product by April. My goal. I had a date. April 30th, I'm going to have this done. We just did it. 8 months later, right? And why did that happen? It wasn't that I didn't plan the goal. It wasn't, we've talked about SMART goals where they got to be, what is it, measurable and super sexy and what else? Specific. Oh, specific. That was the S. Okay. But there's a lot of different things we're supposed to do with these goals, right? And the bottom line about goal setting is really, in my mind, this. Goal setting works exceptionally well when you know what you're supposed to do, right? When you know that you want to turn around and shovel the driveway, you know how long it takes because you've probably done it once before. You know how long you need to set in there for time, and you can actually say, today, by 2 o'clock, I'm going to set the goal. What are the likelihoods of that happening? It could get done, right? Because you know how, you know what you need to do, and you know exactly what needs to happen. But in business, if you're at a specific level, there's this opportunity. I'm here, I want to get there, and sometimes we don't know what we need to do to get there. So today I'm going to give you some things that I do around goal setting with my clients, because I asked myself this question when I was preparing this today. What is it I do? Because I produce crazy radical results. I am not about, let's go up 10%. I'm about let's double where you're at today, whatever that looks like. Let's change your profit so it's grossly good. Right? Because we can do the other side all by ourselves, can't we? We can take our profit and go, whoa, what happened over that? It's like I don't have any money in the bank account anymore. We do that by ourselves really well. How do you get to the place where you're doing something really effectively? So it was a tough question for me to ask, so I'm giving you some trade secrets today. And it's been good for me to actually go through because I do this every day with my clients, but I've never talked about it unless I've talked to my coaches about it. So today we're going to talk about goal setting, how to achieve mind-blowing results. So if you've never, ever done anything on goal setting, you may want to take a note. I didn't bring any paperwork for this purposely because if you want it, you got to write it down. And the video will be on YouTube, so anything you say will be and can be used against you. You've been warned. Traditional goal setting. I do this. Last year I did this, right? We've all seen it. And so right now on your page, you're going to write down what you did last year. And it can be in the number of dollars that you did, number of deals that you did, number of things you sold or whatever. Write something down and don't show anybody. This is all about you. This means you have to have a pen in one hand, right? And you want to write something down. What your goal was last year or what you actually accomplished. So you're going to write down something. And then the next part is, what do you want to plan for? And here I've got some visual aids today. I readied my wife's kitchen. She's going to be mad. This is how we set goals. We go, I have a container called this big, and I'm going to set my goals based on what I did last year. So I'm going to add what? Maybe, what do we add? 5, 10, maximum 12%, right? And I'm going to fill this. So instead of having it right up to that level, I'm going to fill the cup. Woohoo! And how do we do that? I'm going to work a little harder. Anybody ever said that? I'm going to work a little harder, maybe get a little bit smarter. Maybe I'll work Saturday mornings too, to get that little extra volume. Maybe I'll change my pricing a little bit. Who's up their prices this year? Yeah, it's not the thing we usually pick on first, is it? Right? Because that's usually, makes us want to throw up when we got to try and sell that. But we usually add a little bit more to the same container. And what I want for you is this, is that when we set a goal, make it a little bit bigger so you can go, it's a little bit bigger. It's like 50% bigger. So take whatever you've got down on your page or what you're thinking about and just 50% it up higher and see what that feels like. Because here's the thing about goal setting that's really important in the process that I teach. Number one thing that I find is that most people, when they set a goal, it's based on history, and they're going to repeat history again, only just a little bit better than they did before, which never happens. Did you ever notice that? Sometimes we're all like about the same level. If you do any kind of goal setting, it's all about the same thing, maybe 10% up or down. and we take the same container, we go, I want this, but we end up settling on that because we've just done the same thing as we did last year. And the great thing about that is we have the capacity, every single one of us can do this to our business. Easily. Easily. I'm going to show you how. Even more than that, sometimes you can take the whole thing, take what you got, can't even do this with one hand, stick it all in there, and you can have a big bucket. And you can double your income, your whole business overnight. Because we know people have done it in your industry. Now, how do they do that? You know, by mistake. You know, usually. Not usually by design. Unless they've done it before in another company and they know how this whole thing works, right? So here's how it works. The reality is that usually we have a mindset that has created our reality. And that's the reality that we come from. So the minute you try and do something different, this is how you're thinking. Right? Michael gets this. This is the scientific part of the session, okay? In the brain. The brain is actually telling you how big you can be. And you will look at the world from those glasses and you will only see red cups wherever you look. Because that's all you're programmed for. And then somebody from outside can come in and take a look at your business, coach, good friend, somebody with some business experience, and they can go, well, why don't you do that? That's an opportunity. And you go, I never thought about that. Right? Because you're in your business every day, and you're thinking the same thing, so how in the world can you take and do this? Right? You can't. It doesn't work. So you have to have something that shocks you, gets you out of your thinking, and creates a new way of thinking. So you can think about the possibilities. Because we all have creative ability. We all have that ability that we can take what we've got. Now think about it. You started your business, right? In most cases. There was a day where you had zero. You guys remember zero? How many years has it been for you folks? Over 2? Over 5? How many people over 10 years for business? Do you remember back then when you were at zero thinking, oh, I'm just going to do this? And you didn't know anything like you do today. Like you're so smart today. Do you know what I mean? And in the moment that you started at zero, right, which kind of looks like the bottom of our cup, zero, right? You are creative. You are looking at all the opportunities and you're not in judgment. And so therefore, ta-da, you can create something and you get all the way up to a certain level. So part of what we need to understand is that we are the problem and we are the solution. So goal setting, let's talk about that. I look at a number of different things when I do goal setting. The first thing I do is I identify the challenge. When I identify a challenge with an organization or group or a person in sales, it's really, I'm going to simplify it. You know, there's a whole, I have a whole thing I work with here and there's a blueprint that I use. But bottom line is there's 3 types of clients, okay? Number one thing that I'm going to look at here is there's 3 things I always want to take a look at. Volume, how big are they? Like how much physical volume are they doing? Are you doing $500,000? Are you doing $1 million for your sales? Are you doing 100,000? Are you doing 200,000? I just want to know for your industry what kind of volume you're doing. I want to know what kind of skill level you have to do the actual implementation or the product delivery, service delivery, whatever you're providing. And I also want to know how you're leading or managing yourself and or the team. 3 things I look at, basically. So we have a couple scenarios, right? So in scenario number 1, we've got what I call a low volume, and I've got great skill, and I got low leadership. And what that means is you got somebody who probably worked as an employee somewhere else, learned a craft and skill, and wanted to share that with the world, and off they go. And so they have technical ability. How many people have technical ability in the room? All right. So you've got that skill and ability, you're what I call a technician, and you want to bring that to the world, and there's some things that you got to have, because the minute you go out on your own, you got to discover how to find a client. That's a different skill. Then you got to manage the client's expectations, and you got to turn around and make the client happy. Does that all sound familiar? I'm not telling you anything you folks don't know, right? So those technicians run into a couple problems, and what they end up, coming through, and I call them hungry. Let me just pop this in here. They're hungry. Now, hungry technicians are grumpy technicians because they don't have enough money coming in. So that's the problem, right? They've got the ability to service it. They can look next door and they can say, well, that guy over there is not as bright or sharp as me, and don't tell me you didn't do this. Right? Why are they making so much money? I'm not. It's we've all asked that question. Coaches too. You know, I have a lot of coach friends that are broke and they're brilliant. And so that's unfortunate because they've got a gift that they could share with the world. And you know what? That happens. And it's not really fair, but it's the way it works because you've got to have the combination of things you're putting to the task. So they're hungry. You know, so technicians are hungry. So if I'm working with a technician that's hungry, I'm going to help them understand how they need to bring in clients. Simple, right? So they have to, in some way, shape, or form, find clients. They have to get better at learning how to turn around and increase their volume. So we call that business development, because if I call it sales for those technicians, they will throw up and run away. Right? So, but sales is part of that. And it's also called marketing, because they like the word marketing because it means I'm not involved with it. But there is a sales process every time you bump into somebody. Hi, how you doing? My name's Rich. That's selling. You know, I just commented earlier about somebody who's getting married here. Bring your story in. And I said, well, you know how to sell. She says, I don't know how to sell. I said, well, you're getting married, aren't you? Well, you made a good sale. Right? That's what I tell my daughters. They're all getting married now too. Same thing applies because we do it every day, we just don't know it. And customer service is also sales. So if you have a high desire to give good quality service for the product and service that you offer, that also fits into the nasty S word. Okay, so that's step one. The other people I have in the middle here, well, you know what? What they've got is they're kind of okay at their volume. They're starting to get some things going. So they've been in business probably 3 or 4 years. They still got great skills, right? If I could do a check with my hand, that'd be awesome. Their leadership's kind of questionable still. And those folks are now starting to build what I would call a business, but they might have a combination of problems. And they're usually going crazy. They don't sleep at night. Now, how many people in their business have had the crazy moment, right? Where you're going, oh, that employee is driving me nuts. Ever had one of those moments? Or, I can't believe that client did that to me. Or, oh, we just can't get those offers and those proposals out in time. Or, oh, I can't believe that system failed completely. How did we lose that prospect? Ever had one of those moments? That's crazy. That happens if you've been in business a couple of years. We've got some good laughter going on here, right? I'm not pointing, by the way. But you know what? Crazy shows up. And if they're going crazy, there's a part about trying to pull it apart a little bit and give them a little bit of the, okay, here's how we get a system. So you get really clear. Because when we start in business, we're making it all up as we go. And you have to somehow kind of, by trial and error, figure out how to actually make a sale and help people get started with you and get your product and service delivered in a way that you can actually have them as repeat clients, right? You make enough mistakes, you learn, and you end up going crazy. It's awesome, right? Awesome from a coaching perspective. Now, last but not least, when people get into a really great flow, they got the flow going, they got the skill going, and now leadership is going berserk. And they're just going nuts, or it gets kind of scary. Now, scary, you notice I don't spell well, it's awesome. Scary is when you're waiting for the $10,000 mistake to happen. $10,000 mistakes happen when you're going scary because you got good volume coming in, you got good technical skill and ability, and you're actually making a product or service that people want, and you're in a flow, and it's all going great, and you're bringing in people to help out with the process, right? And you have the right person, wrong person, in the right place at the wrong time. And they do something they're not supposed to. Push the button twice, or they turn around and say something to a client that they shouldn't have, and it can cost you thousands and thousands of dollars. So these are the 3 areas I look at, and you can kind of decide for yourself where you may fit in. And what I do with each one of those areas is slightly different, but all I'm doing is filling in the gaps of what you need. So right now, the second thing that you want to write on your page is, what is it I need? Do I need more technical skill and ability? How many people bought a business here they had no idea what they were doing with? In the sense that you didn't have the skill. Because that happens occasionally, you buy a franchise in something, right? And you have to learn the skill, so you got to kind of catch up to speed, right? But most of us come in with the skill first. It's usually the first thing that happens. How many people here have actually had management training? Some of us, right? Has it been beneficial?
Yes.
Right? Because it does what? So you have to have those components, because if you don't know how to actually do the attraction cycle, that's what you work on. If you don't know how to manage the process, that's what's going to slow you down. I always look at what's the biggest common denominator that's going to actually cause you the biggest amount of grief. And we actually go through a business and we say, well, what's your capacity right now? We look at those areas and we go, well, how much more could you take before things are going to start to blow up? And so you can ask yourself, if I add 10% to my current volume, will my company be able to sustain it? How many people say yes? If I add 20%, how many people say yes? If I add 30%, would your accounting system and your sales system and everything be able to take it? If I add 50%, are you going to be able to take it too? Right? And there's somewhere in here something's just going to, I can see myself running into some problems. I'm going to have to hire some people. I'm going to have to do some stuff. And by the way, the first time that we usually hire somebody usually ends up in we hire and then we do what? We fire them. It's our first experience in hiring. Why? Because we don't know how to do it. We might hire the right people, but we don't know what to do with them. Or we hire the wrong people and we do know what to do with them and we fire them. Okay? So let's talk about the next step. The next step is what will you focus in on? If you're focusing in on your technical skill and ability, that's taking it to the next level. There's usually a course or two that you can take in your industry, whatever that industry is, where you can learn. Like in the mortgage brokerage industry, you folks are talking about some really neat things when it comes to understanding credit score. That is awesome, right? Because that takes it to the next level. Obviously, you've learned that by taking some courses or doing some online search or discovery or something where you've got that, because that's not basic training, is it? No, this is the up and above beyond training, so it's a differentiator to help you expand your business. If you're getting into something that's technical, you know where to go, most of us. When it comes to sales and development of your business, though, that's a whole different thing. That whole getting more clients, that's a whole different thing. You need to have the training because it's a very stipulated type of, if you've ever heard me talk before and I've showed you how my sales system works, it's very easy. It's not really complicated, but it takes a little effort to kind of master it. And most of us are winging it. And when we wing it, we are doing what with our clients? Prospects. Practicing on our prospects. And every time we lose a prospect, how much do you lose? You lose it all. Thousands, hundreds, right? Because every one of your prospects represents an opportunity. And now we can do that a little while, but after a while it kind of hurts your business in the sense of what you're doing and your reputation. We all make mistakes. I get that. Even I make mistakes, and I know what I'm doing sometimes. And so you go through the process. We all do. Now, if you know that you're needing some marketing and stuff, there's great people around that you can get into a training system. You can get into something, or you can get into somebody that knows more than you. So again, it's just finding out what you know and focusing. By focusing in on one thing each year, you're going to find that you're going to actually accelerate where you need to go. Because you don't have to shift this in the year, right? If you need to focus in on getting more business, then spend a whole year doing that. Does that make sense? Or 2 or 3 or 5? And that'll create new problems for you next year, but that's awesome, right? That's awesome. And what we have a tendency to do here, though, is get all the ducks in a row before we do what? Prospect, right? I got to have my accounting system set up. I have to have this set up. I have to have that set up. I have to have everything perfect. I have all, my papers aligned, and I better go through and make sure all my filing's done properly before I actually go out and knock on a door, talk to somebody about my business. And that's the thing that really hurts, because if you're not generating volume, it's not going to work. On the other side, the minute you start having some volume coming through, the first thing that happens is we run into stress, and we call that time management, right? We've got a smile over here, some frowning over here. Time management is really you managing yourself. Self-management. It's leadership of self. And how you manage yourself gets amplified the minute you bring another body into the office. Right? So if you're really lousy at something, expect that you're going to hire people that are going to be somewhat lousy at that, even to a worse degree, and they will drive you absolutely crazy. So I got that label right. Okay? And so instead of having just one of you, you got 5 of you looking you in the face. It's kind of like when you raise kids. Right? They listen to what you're saying, but they watch what you're doing. You can do that. You can get away with that, Dad. Right? So I was sneaking, I'm going to tell myself, I was sneaking M&Ms. My wife had a bag hidden because she hides chocolate. I found the bag. I started sneaking the M&Ms, right? And I got away with 3 days with it. Pretty darn smart I was. My boys, 13 and 11, came in yesterday. As I walked through the door, they go, we found it. I go, what? The M&Ms. And we totaled them off, Dad. And they were proud of themselves because they did exactly what I did. They went sneaking around, found the chocolate, and then totaled off the bag. Because I checked this morning, it's all gone. I have created my own monster, right? Stirs. I got 2 of them in my house, and they're better at it than I am. Oh my goodness. So you have to identify, number 2 is really identifying what it is that you want to focus in on for this year. You don't need an awful lot of things to work on. And you don't know what you're going to go through. I'm going to tell you right now. But if you know the area that you're going to shoot, like me last year that I set my goal for April of trying to get my website going and all my new product launch, and it now just happened in January, so we're now 9 months later, right? I didn't know what I would need to do or whatever. I set a goal, and it frustrated the daylights out of me. So I'm going to encourage you to set an objective. Our main focus is to nail this. Nail it. And it's got to have that feeling. So goals will frustrate you. An objective is way bigger, and it's kind of like, you know, when you're married or you're in a serious relationship, you're committed to the relationship no matter what. You know, it's kind of like I put my stake in the ground. This is what I stand for no matter what. Not because it's Tuesday or I'm only good until I'll review this on January 31st of next year. I'm good for, to go, and that's the thing I'm sticking to. So we want to have that that identity that we're going to stay with and keep up what's going on. Number 3 is really simple, but it's not. Massive action. And here's what I mean about massive action. The number one thing that kills all business growth is busy work. So if I came into your office and I said, what are you really making money doing? And we watched you for an entire day, how much of your day would I be eliminating? You know the 80-20% rule? Forget it. Don't spend 80% of your time on 20% of the stuff that makes you the money. Forget it. Find out the one action that you need to focus in on and get so focused in on that action that you can't breathe unless you do it. If your goal is to 100% improve one area of your business, everything you should do should be focused in on that. And you have to stir the passion to do it. Like you take a look at your goals. How many people had one of these goals for this year? Right? Okay. So who wants to be my victim volunteer? Michael, stand up. You smart, good-looking guy. Yeah. Yeah, come on up. We'll put you on camera. So here's Michael. He's better looking than me and younger. He's already told me that. But he's got a goal like this, right? Okay, so when you think about this goal, right? Tell me what you think about. You don't have to tell me numbers. Tell me what it feels like when you think about your goal for this year.
Stretching, it's exciting, it's frustrating.
Do you guys believe him? No?
It's right here.
So what?
There's
I don't care if you write it on your underwear, man. I really don't. They're not buying in.
No?
They're not buying in because you're not buying in.
I'm already bought in.
Yeah, baloney. You see how this works? If you're super excited about something, people will start to stand up and go, wow. But he's not buying in, is he? No. Okay.
He's too sedate.
Too sedate. I'm going to take your goal, take your goal and add 50% onto it.
I already did that.
Do it again.
Do it again?
Yes. You're setting too low.
Jeez.
Yeah. 50%. Got the numbers?
Yeah.
Okay. How does it feel?
It's scary.
Okay. No. Do you guys believe him? You see? You set your goals too low.
Really?
Congratulations. 50% more. You guys got that, eh? He needs to set his goal up 50% because you're not even inspired by your goal. If you're not chasing something that's worth doing, does it make sense that you're not going to do it? We all know how to shovel the walk. Remember my story about shoveling the walk? How many of us get excited about shoveling the walk except for my wife? Right? Nobody. It is a task we have to put up with. But we set goals that don't even inspire us. So how in the world can we get a team of people behind us, even if they're not on our physical board of directors or inside our company, to buy into this? If we're not excited about what we're going to be doing this year and we've got nothing to chase that's exciting, it's not going to work. Yeah, we're going to try and make a little bit more profit this year. That doesn't inspire anybody to any kind of action at all. It won't inspire you, and you will forget it when? Tomorrow. Right? It's better to chase something that gets you to the place where you have to be creative. And why do we want to stir the passion here? Because passion is actually what opens up your brain to possibility. Right? That's how this works. If I can get you to open up your brain, you are naturally creative, resourceful, and very, very whole enough to create an existence that's way bigger than you are right now. You'll have some fears. It'll make you sleep at night a little bit less. It will, honestly. Right? It's contagious too, right?
Yeah.
Right? Last night I didn't sleep that well. Why? Because I was excited about sharing this today. Why? Because it's the first time I've done it. Shared with somebody else what I do with people. But I'm passionate about this. And I tell my clients, you know what? That doesn't inspire me and it doesn't inspire you. So suck it up and go for something that's worthwhile or we're not working together. Why? Because it's hard to go for this. Oh my goodness, it's hard to go just a little bit better than last year. It's hard to do that. And how many people want to work hard and really just get a little bit? Right? Wouldn't it be fun to really bust it and really go for the big stuff? Like, give me buckets already, would you? Let's go for the buckets. So you have to have something that's going to inspire you. So write down on your paper what's really going to be the big payoff here. And it may be money, it may be lifestyle, it may be just conquering something. When we decided to make the shift and sell product on my webpage, it was a radical shift to making a whole new business proposal, really, and changing the way that I showed up as a business person. Because now we're having product that can help people, not just me yitter-yattering and chitter-chattering. It's something that they can go to, they can help themselves, self-coaching, inexpensive, good stuff, right? Well, that's a radical business shift. And I had no idea how to do this. But it actually made me passionate about doing it. It caused me to do something I would not normally do. I sat down earlier this year and spent 59 days in a row writing until my butt was sore. My fingers were sore. My eyes were sore. I was out of my brain, begging people to take over for me, including my executive writer, who said, "This is normal," giggle, giggle, walked away. If you're going to do something that's going to really motivate you, and you really want to get it going, you have to stir your passion. So what will that look like? Take the numbers you have on your paper and keep going up until you can barely breathe, because that'll be something we're shooting. Now, Michael, let's say we set that goal for 50% higher and 100% higher than what you had. You know, the ostentatious, I want to puke goal, right? And we just actually put it on the paper and we say, okay, that's where you're shooting. And if you shoot for this year and you only get halfway there, you know, the increase that you're looking for, how are you going to feel?
Pretty good.
Pretty darn good, right? And if you turn around the next year and you nail it after there's nothing else that you can think about, that's what you're really after, and you're really expanding your mind to really get there, thinking outside the box, because the box was keeping you kept where you were before for income, and you actually get there and it takes you a year and a half, 2 years. How are you feeling?
Great.
Yeah, it's not a problem, right? So your thinking needs to expand, and the only way you do it is by actually getting something that inspires you, and you start to stir the passion. Stirring the passion is an art form, right? When we date someone else, we actually spend time with them. We get to know them. We anticipate the future. We kind of map out how it would be. We look in the future and what it'd be like, and we imagine in the back of our mind what it would be like to be with that person long term, how we'll create family, how we'll create, love and care and security and all those wonderful things when we're dating, right? We're in those types of relationships. And when you came to the business, same thing applied, and your goal has to have that juice to it. You got to sit down. What would it be like for me to actually do that? What would it be like for me to actually have all these products on my webpage and I actually accomplish that? And people could come and I could say, you need that and you need this, and it's very clear and concise, and they can get something from it and they can benefit. And they love it. How would that feel? Do you think I'm excited? Mm-hmm. Right? Am I bitchy and grumpy because, sorry, not supposed to say that on TV, right? Or am I discontented with the delay in my process? That it took me an extra 9 months to do it. No, because I finally got here. And we're not even all the way here. But you know what? I now actually saw one product on the page, and it's exciting, right? So what will inspire you? Who wants to raise their hand and offer something that will inspire them to move forward? How much do you guys got to go up in volume? How many people have to go 10%? Nobody's raising their hands. 20%. Nope. No takers. 30%. We got 30%. Does that make you squirm? Yeah. Oh, that's a squirm, right? That's really good. I love squirming. 40. Y'all are good. 40%. When you think about 40%, does it inspire you? Just kind of get, I don't even know how to do it. Nope. So you need to go higher. If you know how to do it, it's not big enough. If you don't know why you're not getting there, even though you know how to do it, probably you don't know how to do it and you don't know what's holding you back. Does that make sense? Because, most of us all the time will go, why is it when I know what to do, I don't seem to get it done? You ever had one of those days? Right? Because we're distracting ourselves from moving forward, because, we haven't set it down to actually putting focus only on that day. So when I'm focused on moving my business forward, I become a hermit at home, and I'm working on stuff that needs to drive that business home. And it's really focused. Do I get distracted? Yes, I'm a human being, right? But I push myself to get back on track, and I get 6 hours out of 10 that I'm actually working on the stuff that needs to move the business forward. And as I was escorting people out of my house last night, we had a little bit of a group going on, and they were talking about a number of hours worked, and I said, I'm putting in extra hours. And they go, how many? And I said, well, I don't know, I'm probably up to, 70 or 80 hours. I don't know, 90. Who's counting? Who counts? I'm chasing a dream right now, right? And I have put artificial deadlines in my head that I am chasing so hard that I'm willing to work all weekend long, rest if I need to, but work all weekend long so I can get where I want to be. Because if I'm not inspired by doing it, it gets hard. So my encouragement is this. You want to double your business, you want to move your business to the next level, I'm going to challenge you to take a look at your goals. And if you're not inspired by what you're doing, stop it. Smack, 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 smack. Come up to me and I'll challenge you in a way that we can keep raising the bar, because you know what? We all can do more than we think we can. And we want to open your brain, even as an exercise, open up your brain to what it would be like if you had to double your business this year. If you had to double your business, what would you do differently? Because it's a great exercise to go through. And in most cases, people will turn around and they'll make radical shifts that they never thought of before by going through that. Writing them down every single day works, and putting them in a place where you can visually see them. But here's the catch. If you don't believe that you're going to do them and you're not inspired by them, ain't going to work. When I double somebody's income, they may not even have a goal. I may have the goal for them, and they may not write it down. But we can double their income. Because it's about where they're going, and I get them focused and excited about the feel of what it's going to feel like when you're finally there. If your goals are not making you nervous, they're not worth going after, you won't do them, I guarantee it. I'll put money on it. And I will be a very rich man doing it. So please write down this. So what are our steps? Number one, find out where you fit in here. Am I hungry, crazy, or scared? Going scary. Which one am I? Where do I fit in the business, right? What is it I need to focus in on? Identify the single thing that you are going to focus in on this year. One thing at a time, only, right? Don't make it complicated, just one thing. I need to focus in on better technical skills. I need to work on my leadership or my management of other people, because that seems to be the area where it causes me the most amount of grief. Or I'm going to turn around and do what? What's the last category? Get more volume, right? Find more new clients, get out there and do that, right? Figure out a way to actually get that going. And that's really important, because once you get that nailed down, you create all kinds of new problems, which is absolutely wonderful. Last, massive action. This is the place where we blow it. Most of us will say, yep, okay, I got it good, I'm really excited about that, and we will not do anything that lines up with that. And I learned this from a gentleman who was a speaker, and his bottom line was this: I want to become a speaker, didn't know how to do it, and he said, I made a commitment to myself that I was going to do 50 speaking engagement this year. Now he went from, I don't know how to do speaking, I think I can do it, I'm going to do 50 speaking engagements, and he had no place to speak. Is that crazy or what? Right? And how did he do it? He started doing it wrong to start with. He made phone calls, he pulled in some favors, he got some practice, and at the end of the year, he literally had 50 speaking engagements his first year in the business, and now he's an international speaker.
Did you start with a topic?
He was in a certain industry like real estate. That was his background. Okay, so he had a topic, but he didn't know how to put the topic together and didn't know what was going to work. And he made a ton of mistakes. It was awesome, right? And yeah, he did have some
knowledge level to start.
he had industry knowledge, yeah, absolutely. As much as each one of us would have. He had good technical knowledge.
Right.
But to take his business to the next level, he had to market it from that platform. That's the one he chose. Now, you may not choose to do that, I understand that, but somewhere there's something that you can do to increase that volume. That was his choice. But look at the radical, the amount of effort that he put in. Now, did it go the first week that he got a speaking engagement? This is the other part. No. Second week? No. Third week, he was talking to people, which was good, but he wasn't having a speaking arrangement. And what ends up happening is most of your growth will happen at the last third of your goal. All the rest is practice to get to know how to do what you need to do at the very end. Now, near the end, he was doing 3-4 a week, but for the first half of the year, wasn't even close to that. Does that make sense? So don't let the lie that says I'm not categorically looking, if I did this much in this period, my first quarter, I only did 3 speaking engagements, I guess I'm going to be at 6 at halfway, I might as well give up now. Don't ever let that hold you back, because that's the lie. Okay? Especially when you're chasing something big. Keep doing what you're doing. It takes a while to catch in. That is how you set goals that actually inspire you and get you to the next level. My name is Rich Grof.